You and I are constantly bombarded by misinformation from politicians, celebrities, and media personalities who demonize guns and gun owners. Their accounts are contrary to my experience as a responsible gun owner, a retired police officer, and a professional competitive shooter. I have listened to their lies and I've taken their punches, but I refuse to stay silent any longer because I know a lot of women who have something to say and they won in the game. They're ready to play offense with the truth.
The truth is, we all want the same thing: to protect ourselves, our families, and to be safe in our communities. The DC Project is a nationwide grassroots organization made up of women from every demographic. We come from all different walks of life, but we are united in preserving our Second Amendment rights. As we share our experiences, we push back against gun control lies and oppose those who demand our rights be restricted.
As an immigrant from Venezuela, I saw how easy it was for freedom to die. My family and I watched tyranny destroy our home. In Venezuela, the media, celebrities, and politicians repeated the same anti-gun messages until people found it normal and acceptable to give up their freedoms. The reality is, none of it is normal or acceptable. Hungry and helpless, Venezuelans are now unable to protect themselves. Now, as a proud American, I am determined to guard against the same things happening here.
We constantly hear about common sense gun control, like universal background checks, banning assault weapons, ghost guns, high-capacity magazines, and gun show loopholes. Every city that is facing massive crime waves have put these policies into place. Common sense tells me that they don't work. So why do people still believe the idea that those policies save lives? Actual common sense is holding criminals accountable, not letting them out of jail or encouraging them to be more confrontational. Common sense is not stealing the right of the American people to protect themselves. This is the message that America needs to hear.
The DC Project works to reduce firearm accidents by campaigning for education in schools. We counter the false gun control lies by testifying in hearings and meeting our legislators. We equip our friends, our families, and our communities to know the truth. Gun owners are good people.
America is a beacon of freedom. The Second Amendment is vital piece in ensuring that our kids can have a free country to grow up in. We stand with the lawmakers who support the Constitution, and we provide armor from the attacks by the gun control lobby.
Join the DC Project today. Become a member, donate, or subscribe to our newsletter for updates on how we educate, advocate, and preserve our Second Amendment rights for generations to come.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
shooter stand by.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Hey there, Rob Campbell. Welcome to Eye on the Target Radio.
Hey, I made it.
Yeah, we made it to another weekend. There is all kinds of stuff going on, but man, oh man.
You know, everything, news, it all stinks, but they said that the government's going to stop exporting ammo for 90 days. That means I might be able to get some primers eventually.
So are they stop exporting ammo or stop exporting firearms?
All that stuff, everything.
Okay. Yeah. So I wonder.
They're saying the world's gone crazy and they're not using U.S. ammo to do it. So we're going to see. Except for they left a loophole for military contracts. So we'll cover a little more in the future. But hopefully, like I said, we'll get primers again.
We'll get primers again. That would be an answer. Absolutely.
It just goes to show it's all about me.
Okay. I'm going to say that that's not wrong.
I could care less what's going on in the world, but if I can get primers, I'm good.
If I could get primers, there you go. Well, did you see that we have, unless you're living under a rock, we have a new Speaker of the House.
Yep. Nobody heard of the guy until the liberals have said they hate his guts.
Well, there is that. And
he's young. That's the funny part is he's not one of these 85-year-old, 90-year-old old timers, and he's
I think
relatively new 50-year-old.
He's a new 50-year-old. I don't think that anybody on Capitol Hill even kind of knew who he was, because they're just like, yeah, you young pup, just shut up, stay in your corner. There's that, right?
Shut up and leave us alone.
Leave us alone. So you know what this means? There's a couple things. One is he's very, very pro-gun, and because he is so pro-gun, he has allowed us to meet with the DC Project. You've got to mention that. You just have to.
You're nitwitted friends, I'm telling you.
Okay, we got to do a shout out to Charlie Cook and John Petrolino, because we just got texts on both of our phones that those two are driving outside of DC. They have tuned in. So I don't know who's driving, who's watching.
Well, they're not in Ohio because they're watching their TV while they're driving down the road, and we're not allowed to do that anymore.
I don't think they're allowed to do that either.
Oh.
So we'll just say that nobody's allowed to do that. But there you go. But John Petrolino, you see him, hear about him all the time, because he writes amazing stuff in a wide variety of outlets that we use. And then Charlie Cook writing Shotgun with Charlie. So the two of them, when you put the two of them together in a combo,
it's like 8-year-olds.
Well, they
all sugared up.
Pro 2A 8-year-olds, right?
All sugared up.
All sugared up. So who knows what things they're plotting or hatching or things. Well, let's go back to talking about Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, because I think he's a little more adult, even though they tell him to shut up because he's just a kid. But he has not been in the House for very long. He's on his third thing, so 6 years, because we looked this up. The thing that this means to constitutionalists, to pro-gun folks, is a couple different things, and the big one is the names that we know, the names that the news repeats, the names that have been in Congress forever. They have been, like, they're institutional. They are the institution, and the new ones come and they go, and so they don't even pay any attention to them for a long time. So the younger class, the freshman class, the new guys, they create friendships with others that are in that same range bracket, which means that Mike Johnson, the congressman from Louisiana, who's now the Speaker of the House, his interaction and his friends and his resources and his things are not going to be names that you know. The people that he leans on, the people that he goes to, are not going to be names that you know.
You know, it's funny. There was an old Eddie Murphy movie where he was making fun of politics back in the day, and I think the guy's name that was the congressman or something, his name was something Johnson, Mike Johnson, Kevin Johnson, and so the guy dropped over dead. So Eddie Murphy took his name and bought all of his old campaign stuff for cheap because who needed it?
Who needed it?
And then he ran as a congressman, and it just as you know the name. He didn't show his picture or anything.
You know the name.
He ends up getting elected and going to Washington as a congressman.
There you go. Right, and this is sort of that Mike Johnson. You know the name. So I just think that this is going to be a big opportunity.
Well, there's two distinct Republican parties in Congress. When you look at it, one is the what do they call it?
The old guard,
or the deep swamp, or however they want to call it. The rhinos.
All that.
Then there's the Trump group that everybody hates.
Faction,
so when
right?
they say he's a MAGA Republican, they spit on the floor or something.
Right. There's all that.
So he's a MAGA Republican.
But he's a pro-constitutional, smaller government, pro-2A, Bible-thumping, church-going.
Right. So there's going to be a lot of changes coming through in what he allows to be seen or heard on the floor. And so I think it's going to be good for us as a country to get this stuff out there.
I think so too. So like I said, he has met
everyone is going to have to keep a tight rein on their senator because the senators are still the rhinos in. So you're not. So it may pass the House, but it won't get through the Senate unless you are riding that guy like a mule.
Like he's a pony. Watch the budget. You'll know who fits where based on this new budget, because now that we have a new speaker, the first thing they're going to be like is, we have to have a budget. We have to have a budget. We've waited this long. We can't live without it. We have to have a budget. And so I believe that you're going to see funding of the military. You're going to see they're going to stop all of the anti-Second Amendment stuff that gets wedged in the omnibus bills. You're going to see all that stuff kind of go away because people follow what the speaker wants. But it's going to go to the Senate side, and then the Senate's going to be like, yeah, you're kind of kidding, right? And that's the opportunity for us to be like, yeah, no, we're not kidding. Bruin said things that the U.S. government should be following. We're not kidding. So I'm just going to challenge y'all that in a Second Amendment, put your Second Amendment hat on and monitor what is going to be happening in this new budget cycle, because it's going to matter to you and to me as it goes forward. So truly pay attention to Mike Johnson, you know the name, from Congressman, Speaker of the House from Louisiana. It's gonna be really pretty exciting, right?
If you're a political junkie, it's exciting. Otherwise, it's pretty much.
If they're not a political junkie, if they're not a 2A junkie, they wouldn't be listening to the show.
Oh, I guess you got a point.
So our target audience is like, yeah, we want to hear more of that. We want to hear what you're thinking, why you're thinking it.
We need to know.
We need to know. Inquiring minds.
I'm invested, I think is the.
I'm invested. Oh my, we were at an event the other night, and somebody was, we'll just say, talking out of school, and there was just details coming out, and finally the gal that sat across from us at the table, she's like, shh, hang on, I got to hear what's going on. I'm invested in this conversation now, because what was happening, it was our version of kind of watching a soap opera, I think is where that was, but it's going to be a new line. I'm invested. I'm invested. So I have to say that I feel like it's day 35 and my new gun has not gone to the range yet.
What are you waiting for?
I don't know. So
I'd have shot it in a flower pot by now.
you said that last week, and then you did say that last week, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna.
Open the wood stove, let it have a couple of rounds.
The backside of the wood stove would not absorb that, but we'll be okay. It will go to the range, then I'll report out. I am so excited and so ready to get into the range. There's just been stuff, so much stuff.
You're waiting for the snow to hit. That's what it is.
Yeah, no, but okay. We'll be back right after these messages that are coming through. Thanks so much, folks, for tuning in to Eye on the Target Radio. Oh my gosh.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so we are back, and let me tell you. So some of our listeners are just a little entertaining, we'll just say, and communicate with us because we love it. We absolutely love it. You get to we get to know you. So messages. There's a lot of folks who message us on. They go to the message section of Eye on the Target Radio on our website, and so there's a lot of that. What story are we starting with?
Well, I thought you wanted to talk about these Chinese AKs or something.
Oh, I
like this that are
did.
coming
Where'd you
into
put that?
Mexico.
Oh, there, right here. So in our history section, we are going to talk a little bit about. There's an article that came out from Ammoland from David Cardria, and it's about the fact that a new compatriot, I don't know what you'd call it, a friend of or part of the faction of El Chapo has been sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. But the interesting part is that prosecutors have said that many of the weapons, this is where the clunker is, many of the weapons, including 50 caliber rifles, machine guns, and grenade launchers, were acquired in California, Arizona, and Nevada. So they're saying that the Mexican firearms problem is due to the lax gun laws in California. Let's just go.
But some of us too also wants to know about the highly regulated national firearms, machine guns, grenade launchers, and stuff.
Right, the 50 caliber rifles, machine guns. You can buy a 50 caliber rifle, but you can't buy a machine gun or a grenade launcher without the NFA. So since 1934. So it's not like it's just been a year or two. No, 1934. So.
But even at that, it's from 1986 when they weren't allowed to make any new ones. So there's something going on here.
There's something going on. So where'd they get it? How did they get it?
The big thing is they're saying that some of these the Chinese AKs that are coming into Mexico, but they say that they're well worn because the Chinese haven't been allowed to bring anything in the U.S. since 1993, and so the price on their AKs and stuff have gone through the roof to collectors' items.
To collectors in the United States, yeah.
They're saying between $1,800 and $3,500 for AKs and stuff. So the ones that they're finding, they say very well worn, and they have factory selector switches on them. So they didn't come through the commercial channels of the U.S. anyhow.
Okay, so explain to our folks why are you drawing that conclusion? The factory select.
The ones in the U.S. are only semi-automatic. So the lever on the side, I don't know, you've seen on an AK-47 where you flip it up and it blocks the thing. So up's the safety, down is fire, and an American one, and in the middle is a switch that allows it to run till you're out of bullets.
Okay.
We don't get that.
We don't get that option.
But these have that. So the Chinese have either put these in South America somewhere or someplace else that they've been imported in, and then they're coming to Mexico through that channel. But
so wait, let's talk about that for a second. So the real thing is that, newsflash, folks, when we say that it's a Chinese firearm, it's a Chinese manufactured firearm, so it's not the fault of the United States, and that other countries manufacture guns and sell them to other countries that are not the United States. So there's a spot where we didn't do it, it's not our fault, and it is happening either inside our country or outside our country, and it does not have to cross over our borders.
Right. It's kind of funny because, there's all kinds of gun companies that you never heard of. I mean, in South Africa, there's lots of companies that make just for inside of their country, and they get little government contracts or something to keep them going. They don't make a good enough quality gun, or sometimes the gun is just a copy of what we're already getting, so they never bother to bring them into the country. So you're seeing like fake Glocks that are made in South Africa or something like this.
So they're copied in their
Right. Or some of it's like it's half a Glock and half a Romanian Makarov or something.
and they're patent infringing, so they can't really go too far with
Right,
them.
or they kind of mashed up these two different guns and then they sell it to the local government because
They don't
your
know.
brother-in-law or something is in charge of buying that. So,
Got it.
but it's not. It doesn't make it to the U.S. in this market. But like these guns here, because they say they're already worn out and they have the select fire stuff, they didn't come here to start with. They were military weapons that were either sold to a government or to the drug cartel, or to give, like our CIA does, it gives it to one side or the other of a fight, and then after the losers have lost, the other guy gathers them up and sells it on the
someone
black
else.
market to somebody else. So-
Imagine. Imagine. But it's just so funny how, because it is Mexico and it's near the U.S. border, they
well,
do
right
cut
away
touch.
they're trying to
It's-
shovel it as it's Fast and Furious, like when Obama and them were selling guns down there. So it's there's a lot to it. It's he said, she said, but it's not us. It's somebody else's stuff.
It's interesting how they're trying to, but as they start down this thing, they're trying to blame. Arizona has a little. Their gun laws are not as stringent as California's. Nevada's is not as stringent as California's, but they still have U.S. gun laws. They still have state gun laws.
The thing is, if they can pin it on these states, then the uninformed voter will go ahead and feel sorry for them and tighten up some gun laws. Also,
Right.
too, it allows the Mexican government to sue the U.S. manufacturers
Again.
So they'll try to fight it out in court, and even if you don't lose, you still got to pay for a lawyer. So it's everything is expensive, and it drives small companies out of business.
Right. And so it's really kind of funny. In this article, it talks about government corruption that accounts for the actual military weaponry. And I'm like, government corruption? Are we talking about Mexican government corruption? Or are we talking about U.S. government corruption? Are we talking about
it's like
Fast
they're
and
showing
Furious?
you cases of M4s that the Hezbollah guerrillas have somehow got their hands on.
I got nothing. I got nothing, because we just walked away.
Wherever you can make $1, somebody's willing to make that $1.
There is a lot to that, an absolute lot to that. And when we come back, we're going to talk about why the U.S. government has put a hold on exportation of firearms, because it just kind of ties right into this. But we'll be back right after these messages.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
I'm Charlie Cook from Writing Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Writing Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Tofu the beast.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So the U.S. just announced, and it's a Reuters article, that the Commerce Department says that foreign policy interests and it needs to review the risk of firearms being diverted to violate human rights, and so they have stopped the export.
The funny part, if you read the whole thing, it's like, accept this, accept that, accept this. This other stuff will be, has already been approved, it's going to go through, and blah, 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 blah.
So they're not going to approve anymore. They're halt the export. So even if they say you could have shipped on Tuesday, that one goes, but now you're going to wait 90 days before you can submit for another one.
But it also says that if export licenses for the Ukraine and Israel and other close allies are going to be exempted from this, and then it says that the pause doesn't affect previously issued export licenses, and for shipments to government clients, exporters that name specific end users, they'll okay it, but unnamed government, military, or police users will be returned without action. So there's
and they're going to be held without action until the pause is lifted. So there's like all of this.
Two people that's going to be inconvenienced by this.
Two people.
It looks like a big deal, but it's probably not. It's by the time you figure out how all the commas and the exclamation points go, it's a.
Yeah, it says that the halt covers most of the guns and ammunition that could be purchased in the U.S. In a U.S. gun store. So
what it will keep is you can't go down to the gun store and buy 25 guns and then ship them to your buddy in Israel or somewhere that you.
Well, there could you do that before with the
I would
ITAR
imagine-
with the ITAR regulations? I would think the
imagine
paperwork
there's
would
probably some way of doing it. I mean, there's nothing can't be done if you have enough money. You know what I mean?
Okay. I don't. I think that makes a lot of sense, actually. In most of the time, I'm prepared to argue with you, and this time I'm like,
Well, there's an old
Nope.
song out there about nothing in the world that can't be fixed with $700 and a 30-06. So,
okay. So,
kind of goes that proper, what is it, application of explosive type thing.
there's a basis of that. So let's talk a little bit about this this shooting that took place in Maine. So it came out, and there was a congressman who was a Democrat in Maine who had been standing strong for the Second Amendment. Now this shooting happened, and immediately he is like, okay, I'm all for banning guns. Just ban them. Ban guns. Ban guns. As there's a lot of gun organizations that are out there, and people are like, well, why didn't you make a statement? And why didn't you get on top of this? And why didn't you? And it was like, well, why don't we wait until there's information? I mean, a day, there's so much false information that flies about in that first 24 hours. But is a day going to make a difference in making a statement? I mean, you need a statement from the police on the scene. You need a statement, on the investigation people. But everybody else that's got an opinion, hold that for a little while. Just hold it. Because I'm not sure that most of America knows that both of the locations where this crazy individual went in and shot people, both of them were no gun zones. So they were all posted to say that it's polite of you to leave your gun outside, don't bring your gun in here, your gun's not welcome in here. And so there was one gun in the building, and it belonged to the crazy man. So when the congressman starts to flip into this whole, well, we need to ban guns, it's like, do you need to ban guns? Because it's already illegal for the crazy man to have a gun, because he was involuntarily admitted into a mental health institution. He had already threatened to shoot up a military base. And then they're going, oh, well, that was his HIPAA laws wouldn't allow us to report any of this.
Right. I mean, that's the thing is they can know all about it, but can't tell you anything about it. And so it's my aunt was saying something about it, and I says, how close do you know your neighbors, cousins, nephews, uncles, whatever? And if they after the fact, everybody's like, oh, well, we knew he was crazy, or we knew this, or we knew that, or I could have told you that. Well, why didn't you say it up front? Because no one pays enough attention or wants to be the bad guy to put the thumb on someone.
Well, and they just want to say, well, he's just weird or creepy or whatever, but they're not.
They're all weird and creepy. I mean, have you ever met anybody on the street? Most of them are weird and creepy. I mean,
there's all of that.
We all have eccentricities where when they put ketchup on your sandwich, you fly off the handle, or if the window goes down on the car and won't come back up. Next thing you know, you're ready to tear that door clear off the car for some reason.
Well, there's all of that. But so I just am watching the knee-jerk reactions, and then you watch the fact that a judiciously placed self-defender in that facility could have made all the difference. And yet the owners of the facility made it very clear that they were not welcome.
But they chose to disarm, and it's so. When we were kids, way back, they used to have security guards that actually worked places like that and sat around and just shot the breeze all night long for no reason.
Right.
We need apparently we need those in these no gun zones now. If you're not allowed to bring your own gun, they need to pay a security.
They need to
system
defend
for-
us in some manner. But I just wanted to get that out and call attention to the fact that as we all sit and watch this, that they were no gun zones.
Well, the other thing is that they said this guy bought his gun himself prior to going into the mental hospital. So the background check didn't catch him, and after he come out of the mental hospital, they didn't bother to check to see if he owned a gun or anything like this to disarm him. So, whose fault is it? How far do they want to go with this stuff? I mean, is it if they're going to do a background check and they didn't find anything, then should they continuously have done another background check, or did more checks after they released him from the?
Well, they did some kind of an APB looking for him, and then they said, "Oh, we couldn't find him in September." So I mean, there is again, it turns into this thing to where they either needs to be all in or all out. This half in is what's causing adding to.
We're always going to be all in or half in. There's never going to be an all into it, and it's like your friends will cover for you. I ain't seen him. I don't know nothing.
No,
and so if they're looking for somebody and they come and ask if you've seen him or if he's been around, you're gonna.
No, and I guess that's not what I was talking about. I was more talking about the fact that here's the government saying, "I want red flag laws, and I want see something, say something, and I want no gun zones, and I want."
You can't use the thought police to sort out people's heads.
So they say they want all this, yet when here they had this guy, they knew that he was threatening a government facility, and then they're like, "Oh, never mind."
Right.
So you either are all in on red flag laws and you got him, or you're not all in on red flag laws and you need to shut your pie hole.
Well, they let him go. If you got your tinfoil hat on, they let him go so that now they have a reason to want stronger laws instead of the ones they already had in place where they had caught him the first time. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and then
but that's with my tinfoil hat.
Tinfoil hat. It's a biggie. It's a biggie. There's a spot where sometimes your tinfoil hat has fringe.
It amplifies some of the
some of the noise that's coming over. But yeah, I just look at this, and then it's crazy. Did I tell you about having the conversation with a criminal? I don't remember what he said his job was, but in the hotel lobby in D.C., and he was talking about red flag laws and how he thought that they were a good idea. And I didn't. And I was like, well, if you want to fast track the due process, and do something. So I am a big fan of criminal reform. So when you catch somebody doing something, then you need to prosecute that doing something and not just be like, oh, he really didn't mean it. Right up until he did mean it. Right.
But we already have a lot of laws for all this stuff, and I mean
they need to enforce those laws. That's what I'm saying.
When I was a kid, they always said, "Oh, well, they could hold you for 72 hours while they're sorting things out and doing all stuff." So if they think you're got an issue, why don't they hold you for 72 hours? And
here's
look
the problem:
into you?
they're holding you for 72 hours, but the person who's supposed to be doing the looking you up, they're on vacation that week. The 72 hours is going through, but they're just not doing that.
We also seen that the guy who's looking you up, there's nothing for him to look up because the guy who was supposed to be putting the stuff in the machine is 8 months behind on his job doing it.
Because he's on vacation.
And he lost the password to get into the control.
And you make that sound like it's a joke, but if you guys you use the Google and you look it up, you'll find out that there was a background check that was supposed to be done in the state of Florida, and the person who was doing it for the entire state lost the password for a period of time that was somewhere close to a year. Like a year. So I'm just going to say things are broken. They're broken. So stop adding more laws. We'll be back right after this.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seffacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, so as we're talking about the government, you know, they're here to help, right? Isn't that the term?
Yep, that's the
I'm
one that's
the
supposed to make you
government.
cringe.
I'm the government and I'm here to help. Oklahoma State Representative Justin J.J. Humphrey, who was a prior law enforcement officer prior to going into politics. So he had served as a law enforcement officer for more than 30 years. Now he's involved in politics, and he has we'll just say that he has a filter, or a doo-doo scale that he can rate things on. And so the ATF went and raided one of Humphrey's constituents. And when they did, the first thing that they did was that they refused to give him a copy of the warrant. So they did not leave a copy of the warrant in citizen Russell's home. They would not provide a copy of the warrant to State Representative Humphrey. They said that it's an ongoing investigation and they're not going to. They're not going to talk about probable cause. They're not going to talk about the raid. They're not going to talk about anything. So they sent a 12-man SWAT team to Tuscaloosa, Oklahoma. And when they did, they took the guy, they handcuffed him on his front porch, then they coerced him into relinquishing his federal firearms license. And he says that, so the FFL holder says that Special Agent Theodore Mongal told Russell that, tell your FFL buddies we're coming for them too. So there's that. So now, since then, so there's Russell, at Russell's home. I'm not sure. There's like two names, Russell and Filcher. So I'm not sure which one is, I see, Russell Filcher. Sorry, it's like they flipped from one thing to the other thing. So yeah, his name is Russell Filcher. And so I'm looking through this. They have not charged him with any crime. So they took his property, they raided his house, they took his property in June. They have not yet charged him with a crime. They took 50 firearms, and he says that those firearms were valued at more than $60,000. And they have now offered to pay him $10 per firearm, or $500 for the guns that they took in the June raid. And they still have not charged him with any crime. So there's a spot where
the thing is had with a 12-man SWAT team, had he put up any kind of resistance, they would have killed him for this. Mm-hmm. So his coming out with a $500 offer is mighty generous for them, considering what he could have got.
They could have killed him, right? It's crazy because I want to be pro-police.
But
I am pro-police, anti-ATF. I guess that's where my stand is, because I don't see
all the time. It's all over the place in little things, and they pick out one guy, so the rest of the crowd doesn't say anything. It's kind of like when they say, well, if the herd of buffalo would all get together, the hyenas wouldn't have a chance. But we don't do that. We just look at this poor guy and say, oh, well,
sorry for him, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad that his state rep is standing up for him. I am glad that there are people who are pushing back against ATF overreach. Remember when we mentioned that the new Speaker of the House is decidedly pro-gun? So now this is an Oklahoma state representative. We were in D.C., a senator told us that he was very disturbed about ATF overreach in his state and wanted to know if we, the D.C. Project, Women for Gun Rights, would be interested in participating in a roundtable and educational forum about the ATF overreach and firearms and firearm laws and all of that kind of stuff in his state. So, guess what? I think that there are people on our side that are waking up.
I think a lot of they got that new Diedelbach as the, not the acting director, but as the real director. And things have changed there. Whether it's Diedelbach or it's Biden or who's doing it, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's who's driving the bus.
But yeah, things are they've gone over the top for sure.
Right, there you go. I guess that's the way to put it, because it is not just it's the business as usual.
They're off the rails, and so they need some kind of reining in. But we're going to run into that same thing we did with George Bush Sr. with the what do they call them, jackbooted thugs and all this stuff. And so the gun lobby is going to be the bad guy in the long run, and
they're going to try to. So State Representative Humphrey, I love this. He says he's spoken to ATF supervision several times about the raid. His quote, "They were just cocky. They told me I don't understand the federal system. I told them I did indeed understand it. And y'all can't break the law." So we're just going to say, so if you're in a letter writing mood, look it up. Oklahoma State Representative Justin J.J. Humphrey. Send him a thank you card. Tell him thanks for having a spine. Thanks for standing up to the ATF. Thanks for standing up for his constituents, and that we're watching and that we appreciate it. Because I think that's a necessary thing. Because I don't believe that if you're a state rep, you hear from very many people unless they are livid and rabid about something that you did. You don't get a whole lot of thank yous. And I think these folks who are standing up against the ATF need Second Amendment thank yous from us.
Right. We're in a spot where Bruin is taking the spotlight off of the gun being the bad guy, and the bad guy has to be the bad guy.
Imagine that.
But things are, I mean, whether it's the ATF, whether it's the mentally ill, whether it's the FFL operator or whatever, whoever's the bad guy needs to be dealt with at that point, and we can't just keep saying, well, it's all about the gun or whatever. It's not about the gun. There has to be something. I mean, most of these people, when you see that, and they say, well, we should have known. They should have known because the guy's been arrested 22 other times for something.
Right.
So at that's
Wasn't
the point.
Last week we had a story where a guy was arrested like 60 times
Yeah,
before something bad happened?
They need to, at this point, to keep control of that guy, or disarm that guy, or whatever they're going to do to that guy.
Or
But
literally disarm that guy.
It's about that guy and not about his neighbors and friends that have their rifles that are not being criminals or doing. I mean, just because a criminal finds the tools he needs to do the job doesn't necessarily mean that you have to block everybody from having one of them.
No, it's an interesting thing. But so pay attention to the stories surrounding the ATF, because I think you're right with Dettelbach and the overreach. I mean, last week we covered the story about Larry Vickers of Vickers Tactical, and they went after them.
It's been bump stocks. It's been force reset triggers. It's been folding SIG braces. It's been one thing after another. No new laws, just new interpretations of old laws.
New interpretations and then new raids, and they're spreading the raids out in different states. So they're trying not to anger a singular area, if you will.
Right.
By spreading it out, it kind of spreads the pain, it spreads the news, and so in most people's radars, it's not that big a deal. It's one guy standing alone in the wilderness. But when you really start to look at them,
it's the gunpowder supply in Concord, and the ATF is the redcoats coming across the bridge.
And there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of overreach. So we'll be back after the news.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Okay, we are back, and there's just so much news. Did you see this? There's an article that came out that it's a dude who is a gun owner. He says he writes this whole article about he's a mentally ill gun owner, and it's the whole article flips back and forth between taking mental illness more seriously and then red flagging people is a good thing, and then the Second Amendment is a bedrock individual right, and then, it's the biggest threat to dangerously mentally ill is not to the public but themselves, and so then he goes into this whole thing that, well, it really is the AR-15's fault, and so I'm like, I don't want to say it. I have an opinion. It's just so awful.
Here's what I took out of this story. I mean, he says he has depression or whatever.
Depression.
So he's treated with depression. So if you look at most Americans, when you go to the doctor, they try to treat you for depression, whether you got something wrong with you or not.
There is that.
I mean,
you look like you're depressed. Oh no, I'm overworked and I'm tired and I haven't got any sleep. But okay.
Gas is $4 a gallon and a new sandwich is $7. It's like who wouldn't be depressed? But anyhow, there's so many things they're trying to push you over the edge on that when it comes right down to the brass tacks of it, whether you are a marijuana user and now they've legalized it in your state or whatever, they're going to make it to where you cannot pass any of these checks to have a firearm, whether it's due to answering a question from the doctor, or whether it's going to be that you wanted to exercise your right and so you got a card to buy marijuana even if you never buy marijuana,
and then you can't do that, and and there it's
kind of like the safe storage things we talked about last week, that where the woman said she had 20 seconds from the time they kicked your door in to act,
right?
And so if your gun is safely stored, there's no way to get access to it in 20 seconds. Right? And so, but that last article you just read about where the 12 SWAT team members came to the guy's house,
he didn't have 20 seconds.
He didn't have 20 seconds, and had he got to his gun, they would have just killed him for his trouble. So,
right,
face the facts. I can't say that it's not happening, or it's just that they want you to realize that they're in charge and you're not. I mean, that's the.
I don't know. It's just there's a spot where, as they say, you can't argue with crazy. There really is that. And then there's just little nuggets in this article that are like.
He says that most mental illness people are not aimed at you; they're aimed at themselves.
Right.
But the other thing is that when someone spirals out of control and threatens people, that they should be taken seriously. And he says, in his experience, they're not.
They're not, and they're not.
We can see this in some of these other cases where the cops have been called 8 or 10 or 12 times. We had one here locally where the guy, the family called the police on the guy this guy. He'd been doing it multiple times. He attacked the officer with a machete when the
But
officer
he had
got
attacked
there.
the family. The family couldn't do anything, so they called the police because the police needed to do something. He attacked the police officer.
Right, then they ended up killing him for his trouble. So it's
and then the family's like, well, why'd you have to kill him? Well, if you couldn't handle him and I couldn't handle him, the police tried with the taser. They couldn't handle him with the less than lethal means, and he was still coming at the police officer with the machete. right? So
Right,
there's
so there's a lot to this. We need to part of this article too says we need to take mental illness seriously,
and I agree with that.
and but there's a lot of things that we just push that to the back burner. Nobody wants to be the bad guy to say that you're too off your rocker to handle real
Well,
life.
think of, yeah, and it's real life.
The person who say you go in for an evaluation, they went to school to help you. They didn't go to school to put their finger on you as the bad guy.
Mhm.
So they're not going to come right out and say this guy's crazier than a bed bug. They're going to say, oh well, he has a little bit of issues, but we're working through.
We're
those.
working through them, right?
And then his HIPAA laws keep whatever. I mean, we've seen it where the psychiatrist has had manifesto after manifesto of what this guy's going to do, but he can't show it to anybody or tell about it because
that's a falsehood. They can, they won't, but they
okay,
are
if
they have
can,
a document.
but they won't. But do they know they can? Does it, or do they, because they're there to help this guy, they won't show this? So
because they think they can help them, but they're supposed to report it if there's something in there that threatens the safety of society.
You make fun of me because you always say something about things and you say what? And it's like the whole world is in this what thing. You know?
What?
I mean, and the guy says that he's going to do something. Everybody else is just stand by to wait to see if it's going to happen because we don't believe it. I mean,
We don't believe he's going to do it because he's always talking.
Show us your stuff, man.
He's always spouting off about something.
Then when he shows us your stuff, all of a sudden now you're indignant about it.
You're shocked about the fact. But, there's a couple things in this article that I think are pieces that are so misunderstood in here, because I think you're right about the fact that we need to take mental illness more seriously, which is why I kind of pulled the article. But then he rolls out this thing that says, I know, this is where it's like, he starts a whole paragraph. I know that AR-15s can kill more people at a time than any other weapon. The only reason that he thinks that he knows that is that the press rolls that big clunker out all the time, and it is not the case. It is easy to fixate on one item and make it the bad guy, and the AR-15 is that.
And the problem is, as soon as the AR-15's gone, they're going to focus on the shotgun.
They're going to focus on something else, right?
And right now, the shotgun is protected because that's your hunting heritage, and so they really can't get traction on that. But the AR-15, it's evil and it's black, and nobody needed one. In reality, we didn't even want one until
you told me I couldn't have
it. So
right.
We decided then we need 12 of them or something. And
I don't know that I have 12 of them.
No, but they're saying there's, I don't know, what, 20 million of them in the country, where before I can remember when they were cheap and nobody wanted to buy one because they looked junky.
No, there's all that. So, it's just, so he gets that, it's that thing where everything that you know about who you're going to be, you learn by kindergarten, right?
No,
and then
he learned it from the 6 o'clock news.
And then that's the case, is there's so much stuff that we end up thinking that we know, but we don't really know it based on fact. We know it based on them repeating it over and over and over again.
This guy that just got done shooting up the place in Maine used a rifle in .308 caliber, and right away they're like, oh well, it's like an AR-15, and it's a battle rifle. It's like a battle rifle. It's a and this and that, and then you hear the same old thing about how it was built to maim and kill, and how it was built for. You couldn't shoot a deer with it because it blows the deer to pieces. It's when the originally came out, the .308 Winchester is the T-65 round that the military was looking for to underpower their World War II round. So the 30-06 had too much power. They wanted to step it down. They went back to 1898 to the 30-40 Krug round they were using originally. They wanted something ballistically that was comparable to this 30-40 Krug round. By putting it in a shorter case, they were able to work better in automatic weapons and stuff. They called it a T65. Winchester got the SAMI to give it specifications in 1955, and they introduced it as a 308 Winchester. It was primarily a deer hunting round. Up to 165 grain bullets, it mimics the 3006 perfectly. Over that, the 3006 has the power to push 180s and 220 grain bullets to where the 308 can't do that. So it was good for what they wanted at the time. It was short-lived in the military, really, because the AR was picked up in the early 60s. And so from 57 to 61 or something, there was just all the military used the 308 for primarily. Then it went to machine guns.
I'm in some cases, I mean, you're almost cracking up because now they're starting with this new term, battle rifle. So pay attention. You're going to hear that more and more. Battle rifle. We'll be back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seffacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
So they're in continuing that thread of conversation. You know, you're saying that if they stop picking on the AR, they're going to pick on the shotgun. If they stop picking on the shotgun, they're going to pick on the pistol. If they stop picking on this, they're going to pick on that. I think that we have to say
the
never again.
1934 Gun Control Act was actually aimed at all rifles and pistols. They found out they couldn't get traction on that, so they instead they picked up the machine gun, the sawed-off rifle, and sawed-off shotgun because people couldn't justify that they needed those for hunting. They didn't bother to go after the handgun at all, so it's kind of weird that it started out as the handgun law and then it sidestepped that completely. There's so many other things like this. They gotta have something to pick on a bad guy. I mean, there's so much money involved in this stuff on both sides that if they stop having a bad guy, then all of a sudden that money's up for grabs somewhere else.
You're right, because it's that in order to be able to round up the troops, you have to have a common enemy, and so they can make the gun the common enemy, and then they have to select
the
a
best
gun.
part is they pick a word like the new word here is battle rifle.
Battle rifle.
Now that's got to be a 25 or $30 billion word. I mean, in the long run.
Right. So you watch and
if you
see
think about
where else you hear battle rifle, and start hash marking it for a while.
It's good for the economy. I mean, in the long run, because if you think about it, how much money do you spend a year just traveling around defending the Second Amendment? How much money do they spend a year trying to go after the Second Amendment? So it buys jet fuel, it buys lunch at Chick-fil-A and at Kentucky Fried Chicken and wherever else you guys are at. It pays Uber fees, it pays hotel rooms,
I see. So we're funding the economy with the battle of the Second Amendment.
It's not just the battle of the Second Amendment; it's the battle against everything. I mean, the wolf coming to populated areas, the rainwater falling on your roof. I mean, there's people that are for it and people that are against it. They're spending millions of dollars every year to fight it, and all of this. It's got to pay for beer, cigarettes, gasoline, sandwiches, heat, cool, diesel fuel.
You're not wrong. I mean, we just had to write a policy that said that you have a 2-drink minimum and you have to eat dinner, right? Because it's got to pay for beer, not cigarettes.
But I mean, how much stuff when you're going, all of a sudden you need to make signs. So I mean, you're buying paint, you're buying canvas, you're buying paper, you're buying paintbrushes, you're buying hose clamps and carpet tacks. It's good for the economy to fight. The more we fight, the more we drive our economy
forward, and that's how Americans. It's American, so darn it.
But there's a spot where, as much as you're fighting for it, there's someone fighting against it, and it's even though it has common sense. There's most of America, as soon as the news comes on, they turn the channel to something else, or they turn the radio off completely, so they don't get to hear that. You can stop 100 people on the street and ask them, "What do you think about this?" And they'll be like, "What?" Well, I mean, I don't know that guy. I don't know anything about it. They can't. Most of them can't tell you who their governor is, or their mayor, or their.
You're not wrong. And then when they made it to where politicians are allowed to lie and ads are allowed to lie, so you can't fact check them, even though And then we found out the fact checkers are allowed to lie, so even fact checking can't fact
Right,
check
so you
it.
can say whatever you want
wanna
as
say.
long as you have a popular opinion. You'll get lots of money, and
You'll
then
be
you
all
can go
fine.
in and do
You
what
will-
you want
you will
at the
be
end
fine.
because people have a very short memory. So, especially if you just got elected, you can screw them over really hard for a couple of months, and then after that, you just kind of coast.
Throw 'em a
coast
bone
till,
here and there, and you'll be all
you
good.
just coast up to re-election. They throw you back in again because they forgot all about the first time. Then you can stick it to them again because they like it that way.
Yeah, the way that you look at the world.
I am a realist. My friends say I should start my own Davy Crockett party, as we talked about in the past. But I don't believe that the news media is ready for the Davy Crockett
I
party.
don't believe that. I don't believe that you would get news play like the dude
With a boot on his head.
Yes.
And giving out free ponies.
Giving out free ponies.
They would give you a couple of days worth of news because you're a freak, and then after that they wouldn't no one would hear about you.
Nothing. And I don't even remember the name of the dude with
It's
the
something like Beef Supreme or something like that.
right, not Beef Supreme, but Vermin.
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 Right. Okay. So
Vermin
that was
Supreme.
something like that.
It's a Rat Supreme. It's a Vermin Supreme. You got
but
it.
I mean, that's the thing is all you have to do is be on the spot at the right time, and then at the rest of the time you can be the biggest screw up on the planet, and no one cares. They don't remember. They don't believe you. Even if somebody comes back out and points out what you did, that can't be right.
That can't be. He shook my hand and he was really nice to me, and he met me at a coffee and he listened to my stuff and he patted me on my little head and told me it was all going to be fine.
Right. It's not going to be fine. You're taking in the can, like it or not.
He's gonna eliminate my e-check, and he's gonna make sure that I'm all good, and yeah, you're there. So I want one more thing to go. I'm going back to I Am a Mentally Ill Gun Owner article written by David Mastio. So the other clunker statement that he put right behind is, I know that AR-15s can kill more people at a time than any other weapon. There was a second clunker in the article, and it says that most states have had tussles over red flag laws intended to take guns away from those who become a danger to themselves or others. And 29 states where I live still don't have them. That should change soon. And but it's not enough. Actually, he's wrong, because red flag laws don't give you due process. Well, darn it, I didn't get back to it, and we're going to run out of time. But red flag laws did not give you due process, and due process is available in all 50 states. So there are ways that you can take someone who's a danger to themselves, but they just don't. It's not called red flag law. It's not missing due process. We'll be back. 6
Grab
says
your
that
friends
Feinstein
and head
claimed
to
that she
Georgia
was an
to
expert
train
on
with the
guns
complete
because she'd
com-
seen thousands of pictures of them. And then he went on to say that may make him a gynecologist, because pictures, We'll just move on from that.
industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Writing Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Writing Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, so we are back, and let's talk about California. What you got?
They hate Benitez so bad.
So
there's this little judge named Benitez. He's in a little court down in Southern California.
And so the pro-gun folks call him Saint Benitez.
Well, he's a U.S. District Judge in San Diego. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, he keeps saying that the Constitution has words in it that mean something. And,
and it's like the funny part is there is like one judge in the country who is making these kind of statements and has an opportunity.
The Democrats say that Benitez is dangerous and misguided, and that their California's, whatever you want to call it, their 30-year-old assault rifle bill he says is unconstitutional, but they say it would irreparably harm California if they were to take it away from them.
Right. Yeah. So it's 30 years old. It's unconstitutional. So says a judge who is fighting about constitutional rights. And the other judges are going, well, we've had it for so long. It would be bad if we got rid of it. It would look bad on us because we made that decision 30 years ago. There you go.
They said that the Benitez declared the same law unconstitutional in 2021, but the Ninth Circuit Court last year vacated his order and directed Benitez to review the matter further. So upon further review, he
did it again. He's like, do you need some more facts? Here's some more bullet points.
There was a 3-person panel in this Ninth Circuit Court that looked at it, and 2 against 1 said that he was misguided in his attempt. So now it has to go to the full court. Eventually, they say, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court. but the Supreme Court's already struck down some gun laws, and so it's possible that they could also strike down California's assault weapons bill. Well, when you look at that history, text, or tradition of 1791,
California's in trouble.
the assault weapons bill is gone, and
Right.
so we'll see how they go with this. But we're still waiting. That other court case with it, where they filed for the guy to
Oh, darn, what was his name?
wasn't domestic violence, but they filed
A protective order. They
Right.
filed a protective order against him, and then and
right. He's not a stellar citizen or anything like this, but rights are for everyone, and so in the long run, they need to do something different with this guy instead of working on gun laws. They need to make all of his criminal activity.
right when they
hold
arrest
in-
him, they need to prosecute him. They don't need to arrest him and then go, never mind, and then let him out, and then go, he's a scary dude, and then they arrest him, and then they go, yeah, never mind. Oh, he's a scary dude. So that's
But so anyhow, this Benitez, good guy. The Ninth Circuit Court, not so much. We're gonna see how it goes in the long run. But it looks like it's going to fall, and when it goes, I believe it's going to strip the country of assault rifle bills. Maybe they'll rename them all battle rifle at that point.
it'll be beautiful when it happens, and I believe that Benitez is going to be instrumental in it, as is the Firearms Policy Coalition, the Second Amendment Foundation.
It would be nice.
Gun Owners of
it's
America.
nice that they got that guy where he's at, but it would be. They should, next time there's an opening, they should put him on Supreme Court.
They
too.
should move him up. So
Or
that would
maybe
be.
they should make him in charge of the Ninth Circuit Court, so he doesn't have to put up with them battling with him all the time.
Wouldn't that be? that would be great. That would be great. So there's your battle rifle
So
story.
they're saying the main shooter purchases 308 battle rifle days before his mental health hospitalization. So once he's purchased it, they don't go back and look at it apparently, or they don't bother to ask if he has guns at home or anything like this. Which says report the card purchased the Ruger SF AR in July in Maine after about 10 days before he was encountered with the New York State Police and his National Guard superiors led to his hospitalization for mental health reasons. They're not saying, I don't know if Maine has any kind of waiting period, if they have what is that, Ford card or any of that stuff.
I believe Maine is fairly free America, in the states of things. I don't believe that I've heard any history.
It says here the SFAR is small firearms autoloading rifle is what they're listing it as, and it's a lightweight automatic rifle that packs the punch of a deer rifle.
There you go. And so it's combined with a detachable 10 or 20 round magazine, making it akin to a military battle rifle. So again, this is akin to. There's our new term, and we're going to monitor it, right?
Which is, let's see.
So yeah,
because the 308 cartridge is larger, the magazine capacity is smaller for a similar size magazine. So they're just pointing out that instead of it being
20 and 30
20
rounds,
and 30s or something,
it's 10s and 20s. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna monitor and we're gonna watch it. And police say that Card, an Army reservist, told Army personnel at Camp Smith in Cortland, L-A-N-D-T, Cortland, New York, that he had been hearing voices and envisioning hurting other soldiers. He was taken to the Keller Army Community Hospital at the Military Academy at West Point for a medical evaluation for behaving erratically. Yep. So there you go.
So,
okay. What else you got? Because that's just.
I don't get this one here. It's about. It's like a Illinois bill requires police to confiscate guns in order for this protection debate. The article is really goofy, and it's like you read the article and then they go in and pick out like one or two dangerous point in time, dangerous people. So that's what they're worried about. I mean, if you're looking at any article, it's the high point of the sentence and not the whole. So they're saying that these red flag laws would take guns away from people at a dangerous point in time, or from dangerous people, or people that are involved in some kind of a thing. They said the police don't want to take your guns away from you due to due process, officer safety, and the fact that they don't have no place to store them anyhow. So if they took them from you, they can't keep them.
So the Illinois politicians say we want to take your guns. The Illinois Sheriff's Association says, what are we going to do with them? Why do you want to send our officers in there? What are you hoping to gain by this? Where are you?
I see, what did they say, 0.008% of the people who have an illegal assault rifle or something in Illinois now didn't bother to register, or they did bother, so the 0.008% registered. The rest of the people ignored it.
They just ignored it.
We're
And they're
seeing
like,
I don't know exactly, it's got to be 10 years now. Connecticut passed an assault rifle ban, and they estimated at that time that they had about 400,000 assault rifles in the state. But they only had, even counting local sheriffs, deputies, and city policemen, and everything, less than 20,000 policemen in the whole state. So they weren't actually going to go door to door. They made the decision they weren't going to go door to door.
they're just going to be like, okay, it's illegal, and we're just going to let you, whatever. And people did not report them. They did not turn them in. They did not take any of the action that the government wanted them to take.
But you didn't see anywhere where they seem to be arresting lots of them, or getting these guns off the street or anything like that.
Or using them for nefarious purposes.
Right.
I mean, so they just took them.
The guns kind of just went away.
They went underground. I'm sure that there were some walls built. There's some places that
back in the 80s when they were fighting in what's called the Ukraine now, but I think it was the Soviet, or what do they call them, Yugoslavia, stuff like this. They were, I'm saying at that time that they were amazed at how much they had gun control laws and everything, but yet there was so many World War II era German guns that showed up all of a sudden.
Appeared.
They didn't understand where these all came from. That everybody had stashed them in the last
They'd
war
been illegal and nobody had them, and then all of a sudden things went south, and all of a sudden everybody's got one.
Well, the other thing about that article about the 308 rifle and him being from Maine, they're saying that everybody went home, got their gun out, and because he went on the run and nobody knew where he.
And they told everybody to lock down. What did they? Not shielded place, whatever they call that, something. But so that you were supposed to stay home, you're supposed to hunker down, and you're supposed to pray. So, well, they didn't tell you to pray, but frankly, if there's no other option, and they're telling you if you don't have a
what they were saying is that the people who had guns, they went home, locked the doors, and got their gun. The other people that didn't, all of a sudden realized that they couldn't buy a gun. They wasn't
right, and then and the interesting thing is that there's a lot of them who were like, I wish I had a gun. I could have had a gun. I should have had a gun. I want to have a gun, and I'm going to have a gun tomorrow.
How many of them went out and bought a gun right afterwards?
Right, and how many of them sat at home with having dialed 911 on their phone, waiting to push the last one because they were petrified that this guy was coming to their house, not anybody else's house, their house. And I think that is what wakes people up to being their own first responder when something like this goes south. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, so in looking at pains me to say, the President of the United States and his statements about what happened in Maine, and the Governor of California and his statements about what happened in Maine, and then the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, CCRKBA, the chairman, Alan Gottlieb, he did a press release about it because he says that President Joe Biden and California Governor Gavin Newsom have predictably reacted like vultures in the aftermath of the terrible mass shooting incident in Maine. And Gavin Newsom is demanding an adoption of a waiting period in Maine. Well, we've already talked about the fact that he bought the gun in June. And then President Biden wants universal background checks. And we already talked about the fact that he bought the gun from a gun shop in June, and then safe storage laws. So, what would safe storage laws have done for someone who is deciding that he's going to commit murder? And since both of the locations were gun-free zones, and the people that were inside those locations abided by the gun-free zones.
Well, Biden's just trying to throw out whatever he can to see if he can get some traction with it, because he owes his constituents on the left some kind of gun laws that, and with the Bruin coming out last year, it didn't help him out with his anti-gun rhetoric over
it didn't
last
at all.
couple decades.
But I also think that the shelter-in-place order that went into place in Maine 4 days when they could not find the killer, I don't believe that that is going to help their anti-gun laws anywhere, because many local residents were on the news saying that they immediately armed themselves. We locked our doors, we grabbed our guns, and we prepared to defend ourselves. And that other reporters revealed local residents who did not have firearms said that they wished that they had guns. And yet Gavin Newsom and President Biden want to disarm them all, right?
Kind of remind me back in the 70s and 80s when there was riots in LA and stuff like that, and Chuck
Schumer?
The one that was the president.
Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston said that all of his friends kept calling him and wanting to borrow a shotgun or something, and he told them that they should get their own instead of
So instead of just borrowing mine, instead of renting a baby for a weekend, it's you ought to just go get your own.
Get your own, yep.
It's
good for the economy.
But what happens is they go to get their own, and then they find out that California's got a 10-day waiting period, and they can't have this, and they can't have that, and they're like, what am I going to do in that 10 days?
You read articles about people like that where they went in the first time to buy a gun and realized that there was so many hoops to jump through that they had to get a Ford card and get some training and all this stuff. And they had no idea that they couldn't just go and buy a gun, because the media tells you how it's easier to buy a gun than it is to buy a loaf of bread or something.
Right.
And they're saying, no, it's not easier.
No, it's not. Now, once they go to try to do it, they realize the Second Amendment folks, the gun owners, the law abiding, all the hoops that they jump through, all of the criteria that they live with, and the ability to have a gun, and they know that they need to buy it in advance of something bad happening so that they are prepared. But the second part of having it in advance of something bad happening is that you actually get to take it to the range and train with it, if you actually get to the range.
Right. So, right? But that's the thing. So you're familiar with how it works, instead of all of a sudden the wife's reading the manual to you while you're trying to
manipulate
get it working before they come up the driveway or something.
Exactly. So practicing and be able to use it and to be proficient with it.
I mean, it's when we were kids, we'd get a new gun. We would dry fire it 10,000 times. We took it apart 100 times and put it back together, not realizing that was just making us familiar with it. We would just had nervous energy and wanted to know everything about it. But in the long run, it's made it. I'm a better person for it. I can look inside of a gun and tell you what's going to break before it does.
Before you break it, and it's not that before it breaks; it's before he breaks it.
It's just going to wear out from this spot or that spot, and the average person can't even see it once it does wear out, let alone beforehand that something's bad going to happen here. We got this one article, and it turns out that it's a book report.
Right.
It's got a lot of good information in there. It's definitely very slanted towards the left a little bit.
Well, if the title of it is The Riveting and Horrifying History of the AR-15, that gives you a clue that, there is not a gun owner out there that is going to name their gun horrifying.
Well, and it is surprising because they go into detail, and they list Fairchild Engine and Airplane Corporation by name, and then the fact that they had to they were playing around with this new metal and the aluminum at the time in the 50s, and figured with aluminum and plastic that they could make guns that were lighter and that. It's funny, everybody knows the AR-15, but they've seen the AR-7 on James Bond. It was a little 22 rifle that stored in the buttstock. It would float. They say if you were boating or something like that, and your boat sunk, it would just float along with you, and that so you didn't lose your gun in a boating accident or anything.
There you go.
But you could put it together quickly. I mean, if you needed a little rifle to eat or something, you had this, and if you didn't, it worked down to a spot that was maybe 15 inches long, and it all stored in the buttstock. Well, it must be 16 because it's got to have a 16-inch barrel on it. So, but anyhow, it just comes apart, screws together with some thumb screws, and you got a little semi-automatic rifle. But they also made other guns. When I was a kid, it was funny because the local gun shop had an Armalite shotgun in there, and it was super lightweight, kind of like the old Winchester 59s, but it was completely gold. And so my dad was like, "We ain't having a gold gun, son."
We're not having a gold gun, but it was gold. And
Yeah,
it
so
was
I
it
never-
gold because they had like titanium nitride in it?
Yeah, they just anodized all
Anodized,
the
so-
aluminum surface to gold, so it was just gold. But yeah, it was. My dad was not a big fan of a golden gun, and that was way before James Bond had the man with the golden gun thing.
Right. So
And
you were just
when
like,
I got older, I seen that Muammar Gaddafi, he had gold AK-47s. It's like, who doesn't want a golden gun?
who doesn't want a golden gun? And what would your golden gun be worth now if you'd
I
have
believe
bought?
they called them AR-17s. I didn't look it up, but I believe it's called an AR-17 was the this lightweight golden shotgun. But,
Okay. So that would it's interesting the things that you remember having seen when you were a kid, right?
If it was the
Yeah, well, we're down to the very last minute, literally the last minute of the show.
Well, now I want to know because the next time I'll have a more informed just opinion
Then we'll
about-
talk a little bit about the AR-15, the AR-17. There you go. There's the AR-17 pictures.
AR-17 was the.
I'm telling you, Google's his friend. He's
See how it's gold?
It is. It is absolutely. It is absolutely gold. So it says that in 1995, Americans owned 400,000 AR-15s. By the end of 2021, that number was 20 million. So look at that. We didn't really want one until the government told you couldn't have it. From 400,000 to 20 million. Man, that was definitely a boat to hop onto, or something to ride. So folks, thanks so much for joining us on Eye on the Target Radio with Rob and Amanda, and